even if a system we create, a technological system, appear to be decentralized, there's still power inside that system.
Amir Taaki is one of the earliest authors of Bitcoin. He also started the first Bitcoin exchanges in the UK. Amir sees the current political system as in need of some upheaval, and no small part of his inspiration came from his experiences in Rojava. He has developed his own philosophy, and he's a revolutionary. His project is about training a group of revolutionary hackers to start working with a higher purpose in mind.
Civilization is about the domestication of both humans and other animals.
Oh my God.
That's why our proposal is to create a new democratic civilization, because that's the conflict between civilization and democracy. But we don't live in a system of power.
He believes that instead of using technology and fiat currency in contemporary society to oppress humanity, it should be used as a tool for providing a framework to solve human problems and enhance human potential. Crypto Crusades travelled to Barcelona to speak with Amir and to hear his story in Bitcoin, along with his philosophy and plans for revolution.
Welcome
Yeah.
to Jurassic Park.
One of the most common reasons he's in the media is because he travelled to the Democratic Federation of Rojava in Syria, which is an anarchistic state of nearly 5 million people. He helped fight ISIS there. Being an anarchist himself, his ideas aligned with Rojava, and he says he felt responsible for protecting it.
Do you want to be asked how you got into programming to start with the beginning?
Yeah, let's start with this one.
When I was younger, I really respected video games as an art form. I thought they were a really contemporary form of art. And so I wanted to make like a masterpiece video game, something that I felt would be like extremely meaningful and impactful. And I really wanted to make like a great video game. So I was driven to study programming. And then I discovered Linux, and I was amazed that there is operating system which is developed by thousands of volunteers. I was working on these projects for several years. I even quit university to devote myself to these projects, and we were living in squats. We didn't have like any money. Then we got like a big project, which at the time was for 30,000 euros. For us was a lot of money. And it was like 10 of us working on the project for 6 months. So that was like a big hope. I was like, this is it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make something of it. But then because of internal politics, the entire project broke down. And at the end of that, I was completely devastated. I thought to myself, I spent 5 years giving all of my time, all of my energy. I have no money. I have no education. I have nothing to show for it. And I became very disillusioned, and I decided to stop everything. And that's when I started to play poker for 2 years. I became a professional poker player. And I was like, I'll just travel the world and just make money. I saw that there are a few big sites, big poker sites that dominate the poker world, and they take a huge amount of rake. And like when you play poker against other people, the sites running them, they take a percentage from the pot. And it's basically just exploitation. So I had the idea to make a decentralized poker site, which is controlled by the players using algorithmic techniques. And I developed like a scheme, but the main issue I had was with the money system, like what monetary system could we use. So that's why I started to look at different money systems, and nothing was adequate. And I saw Bitcoin, so I started to actually look at it a bit deeper. And when I actually understood, I started to piece together things. I actually understood what is Bitcoin. I was like, oh wow, this is an extremely important, valuable tool. I quit everything else and total energy into Bitcoin. At the time, Bitcoin was nothing. It was just like toy money. And really, like nobody would have expected that Bitcoin would have come to where it is now in such a short period of time. But the way I was seeing it would be like 10 years before Bitcoin would be like $1.
A lot of people think that Bitcoin is the answer to most of the current political problems because it's replacing the Federal Reserves with a decentralized currency.
Yeah.
And you seem to think that it's too limited. So how is Bitcoin too limited?
I don't think there's any one technical solution that will save us as a humanity. Bitcoin is a powerful technical tool we can use to advance forwards. By itself, it's a big advancement forwards. There's still a lot of work to be done. Even Bitcoin itself is not the only project that need to be done. There's like a wide amount of projects that need to be made. Like, there's some guys in the Bitcoin world, if you talk to them, they honestly believe once Bitcoin becomes mass adopted, that's it, all the problems are solved, there'll be no more war. Because states will not be able to tax the population through the central bank to be able to fund the military.
Taken blockchain and Bitcoin technology, how can we make good use of these technologies, and what are the potential threats, the bad uses of these technologies?
So cryptocurrency is an economics tool. When humanity was living in the forest, if you look a lot of tribal societies, because the women give birth to the babies, they do a lot of the gathering and they grow the agriculture and they look after the society and the households. Women became the centre of society as the mothers. If you look in the Neolithic age in Mesopotamia, when archaeologists look, they see that there was the cult of the mother goddesses, the central gods in society were the goddesses as symbols of fertility and hunting and nature. Whereas the men in a lot of tribal societies, they do the hunting. And when you hunt, you have to judge distance, you have to analyse, you have to make tools. So that's where these two mindsets come in the society, and both of them have a vital role to play in the society. The analytical intelligence is something that gives power over the external world, whereas the social intelligence gives us ethics, it gives us meaning and purpose behind our action. When the analytical intelligence is disconnected from the social intelligence, it becomes something that's a form of domination, it becomes exploitative. Whereas when the social intelligence is disconnected from the analytical intelligence, it becomes something that lacks the power to have rooting, to have the ability to change something in this world that we live in this civilization. Now, the society that we live in is purely based off of the rationalization, off of the system of thought of analytical intelligence. And originally, the idea of economy used to be something that was deeply connected to the values of womanhood. Of the Greek word for economy is oikonomios, which comes from the word household management, which in ancient Greece was still connected to the older organic society where people were living in the forest. But it was Rome that took the idea of economy and disconnected it from the subjective, qualitative values of nature and made it purely about quantity, about growth, because Rome wanted to accumulate resources, to build large standing armies, to build a huge military apparatus that they could use to colonize Europe, to invade places, to be able to accumulate more resources, more slaves, to grow the civilization. When we think about economy today, economy is purely something that is numerical. It purely looks at the world in terms of growth, in terms of accumulation. It doesn't look at the world in terms of that subjective, creative element about the quality of life. It's something that's outside of metrics, of mathematics. We need to think about economics in that holistic sense, like restoring the humanity back to economics. One of the most powerful agents of this economic system is the ideological constructions, that is the financial system. It has the central banks, which the central banks is literally an institution that prints money. And this money is a form of enslavement because everybody in the society is using or dependent on this form of currency, which central bank prints more currency, devalues the currency that common people have as a tax, money that is taken from people used to support this gigantic military apparatus that is used to colonize the rest of the world, to maintain this stable structure of power. But this pyramid scheme, which is a parasite on the humanity, which is taking all of the wealth that is created by the society, by common people. All of the great scientists, they weren't driven by money. They didn't expect any reward. They did it because they believed in science passionately. In fact, a lot of the great inventors, they were never rewarded for their work. The system of financial appropriation is something that take these things and exploit them to generate wealth. It take the value in these products and use them as money-making schemes. So I can imagine the entire global system as one interconnected web of power and domination. And that's why in Europe, states like Greece have failed, and Spain to some extent, because this system of power has had to reappropriate resources from its core subset of people. And that's something that's even happening within our own countries, within America, within England. There is an underclass in the society that's being financially exploited by a system of appropriation to support ever increasing amounts of conquest and subjugation. Because now the rest of the world, geopolitically, is starting to realize that this system of liberal ideology, of American hegemony, is not beneficial for them. It's something that is actually expropriating, enslaving them, and they're breaking free from that. For instance, America, the amount of goods they export is less than what they import. So where does all the wealth flow to America? But for what reason? Because there is a dollar system backed by the oil wealth, which there is a group of guys in America, powerful group of guys, even above the state, even more powerful than the politicians, to control the supply of money. So when they want more money, they can print the money. That's what they can appropriate money from all of the people in the world that have dollars. And so Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is the only financial tool that we have to be able to construct our own economic system outside of that structure of power. But it's not enough just to think of Bitcoin as a tool for individuals that we all just randomly use. We need to start thinking more strategically about how we're targeting these technologies. Like, what are the struggles geopolitically? What are the regions or blocks of power where these tools that we develop can be useful for being able to grow new economic paradigm that we've envisioned, start to think about, like, how would we want the economy to be in our future utopia? And it's not just about developing technology or tools, but it's also about how we apply the tools in the real world. Like, where are the places that we can apply it? Like, what are the social situations?
And can you tell us your inspiration behind your involvement in Syria?
Yeah, so in North Syria now, there is a region called Rojava, which is 5 million people, and it's an anarchist revolution. It's the most important revolution of this century. So what's happening now in North Syria, in Rojava, is something extremely important, not just for Middle East, but for all of the humanity, because there's a lot of things that people could learn from that movement. And it's really important that people start studying the ideas of Abdullah Öcalan, which is the leader of the PKK, because the ideas that he's put forward give us a way out of this civilizational crisis, give us the way forwards. You have 2 books called Manifesto for a Democratic Civilization. You can find them on Amazon, in which talk about all of these ideas.
Why did you go there?
It is my duty as somebody who call themselves anarchists to go and support the anarchist revolution. Otherwise I'd be hypocrite.
Did you feel you fulfilled that mission?
Yeah, what I saw there in 1 year, I could not have seen 10 years elsewhere. It's something that affected a huge, deep transformation in me on a really fundamental level. It's something that I can never escape from. It's something that pulled me towards a destiny and give me an even deeper or higher sense of meaning and purpose.
And how much was it the learning experience, or how much was it actually like sharing your knowledge and expertise with the community?
And what was the meaning and purpose that you picked up from the experience?
So I did go to the war and I did fight, and that is something that is very vivid and remains in your mind. There's a reason why people like to fight, because it's something that makes you feel alive. At the same time, war is a very bad thing. It destroys society. It creates huge amount of suffering and hardship. and also loss of human life. But it's also important that in society that people have the ability to be able to go and fight for something they believe in, that it gives meaning to life, makes life extremely rich. And what is striking about Rojava is that you can go into the society and you can find people there who are working on so many different projects, but they're all driven by a common sense of historical destiny, by a shared vision of society that they want to create. Here is how we want to change the world. Not that we just want to exist, like going from one day to the next, like on a hamster wheel. That's the crisis in the West. And right now, this paralysis or this nihilism, as far as I can tell, the only people in Europe who are doing something which is like vaguely political, bringing people together with some like excitement and interest, is the right-wing people. And they're the ones that are now getting into political power. And right-wing is becoming extremely militant, well-organised, well-funded, and getting into political power. But they're the ones that are changing something in Europe. And a lot of people are being attracted to that and joining to those movements because they see something happening. Meanwhile, everybody else is withdrawn from politics, is withdrawn from life. And we know what do we do next? How do we go forwards?
Like, how did your experience on the front line actually like inspired you or enforced your belief in that mission?
So it's not just about the war, it's about like a revolutionary movement that want to transform all the different sectors of society. So what it did is give me the practical experience of like, what is it that create the change in the society? How do we do it?
Can you tell us about the project that you're working on now?
Yeah, now I'm training teams of revolutionary hackers that can be used to influence or shape the wider technology scene, to be an effective force in shaping the social world around us.
What kind of training are they going to undergo?
One of the main courses is the ideology training, because if you just can write code or build technology, then you're a tool that's being manipulated by bigger forces that you cannot perceive.
You expect people, when they undergo the training, they will stay in one space for 3 months or even longer?
Well, yeah, they're part of the organisation. They don't have any other responsibility, give up everything. So I'm going to join this and devote myself 100% to this. Because we're talking about making like a global revolution, like a big change on a big level. So it's going to take like a huge amount of energy.
What if somebody's in a relationship or they married?
I think they have to like give that up, because like we're not here to like just like do other things. Like we're here to devote ourselves completely to something.
Will there be any kind of entertainment provided or encouraged during the time?
Yeah, we can climb mountains and sing songs, make great projects, go swimming, wrestle. Like can do uplifting activities.
So what's some of the ideas behind the philosophy?
First of all, we have to understand that there are two forms of power. So a good way of like conceptualizing this difference between the coercive power and the power to influence is that the master, he controlled the slave, and the slave obeyed the will or the orders or the commands of the master, because the slave is afraid of death. That form of power is very transitory. After the master dies, the slave is no longer afraid of death, so he no longer follows the order of the master. So for instance, when you join the military, one of the first lessons that they give you in the military is that they knock the hat off of your head, and you pick up the hat, put it on your head, and they knock it off again, and then you pick up it and put it on your head. They keep doing that, and the whole point is to train people not to question orders, just to follow the order that he's given by somebody else, without trying to think about its meaning or its intent. There was another form of sovereign power, different from the master slave, that the sovereign individual is noble, and that he is driven towards his goal or his vision, and no danger can stop him except for the one danger that will murder him. And even with that, he becomes stronger, and that through his will and his drive is something that influence other people to also go towards that goal or direction. Politics is the study and practice of coercive power. How do we use the reward and the punishment to create a system of control in the society, a mechanical system, where everybody in the society operate according to some will that is outside of themselves. Like, for instance, today, people work in jobs their entire lives, jobs that they know has no meaning or purpose whatsoever, that they absolutely hate to do that work, but to earn money to be able to pay their rent. And so that's the basis of politics, which is that it doesn't matter what new structure of power we create or how we rearrange the system, fundamentally it's still a system of individuals, all self-interested, self-motivated, and the crisis in the West is not an economic crisis, it's a crisis of identity, of meaning, of purpose, that people feel there's no point to their lives anymore. And when we start to think about this wider perspective, and that what is hierarchy? The hierarchy is the use of this coercive power over another human being to turn that human being as an instrument, manipulated according to your will. What is science? Science is when we look at the natural world around us and we use analytical techniques, we try to measure things, categorize things, try and find the principles or the rules or the laws governing the external world. And that knowledge gives us a form of power over the world around us by deconstructing the world. That we use that knowledge of the natural world to develop techniques we can use for like rearranging the world. And how we put those techniques together is what create technology. That's the techniques. And that is the using the analytical intelligence over the world around us. And we're not only doing that to the natural world, but we're doing that to other human beings as well. And that this form of power, which is the basis of politics, that when it doesn't have ethics behind it, when it doesn't have the ideals or the social vision, then it becomes exploitative. It just becomes a form of exploitation for its own sake. So a lot of people think that more technology is good. It doesn't matter what technology we build, we just need more of it. But that's not necessarily the case. When we use science to try and analyze the world around us, that's called sociology. It's like a way of using the scientific mindset to try and understand the reality around us. And there was a philosopher and historian of science and technology called Lewis Mumford, and he hypothesized that there were two types of technology. One is monotechnics, which is technology that just grows for its own sake, and as it grows, it oppresses humanity as it moves along. So for instance, like when we use a mobile phone, that mobile phone is made in a factory by a worker doing mechanical work all day. The materials that go into it come from mines in Africa, that when we extract those resources, pollute all of the rivers, destroy communities by turning the entire landscape toxic. The people there, they no longer are able to live off of the forest around them. They become alcoholics, the crime rises, and it creates war and conflict, and also the struggle between different power blocks for these resources creates war and rape and murder. So we have to think that the technology we build, not necessarily all of it is good. Like there are bad effects from the technology. And I'm not even also talking about the materials that go into the technology. Even the technologies we make, for instance, the social media has allowed people to become trapped in illusionary worlds, which are completely disconnected from reality, where they only see the information that reinforce their worldview. But he also proposed another form of technological development called Polytechnics, which is when we use our analysis, our sociological analysis of the world around us, our understanding in a holistic way, to try and think about how we can use the technology, how we can configure the technology to support the vision of society that we're trying to create, to increase human freedom, to advance humanity forwards. What's important to realise, no new technology is going to save us. Fundamentally, is the human society, which is the real source of richness for humanity, but the technology can be an aid. And so when we think about technology, we have to understand that it doesn't matter what mechanical system that we create, how it looks on paper. The human life and human society is a lot more complex, and that when we try to reduce human beings to a simple economic model that will fit our abstract worldview, what we're actually doing is we're reducing humanity, we're removing the actual humanity part, the dreams and aspirations, the ambition and will that give people creative drive, that create society, that make people involved in struggle, that is what advances humanity, which is what shapes the world around us. The way that we should be looking at technology is as a force or as a power. We can take a central role in the world by comprehending the actual realities and troubles and challenges facing humanity, and conceptualizing how do we use the technology to try and advance humanity forwards.
I haven't disagreed with anything that you've said.
See, that's what the police told me when they arrested me.
Is it?
Well, because I came back from Syria, yeah, so I got arrested. I have 3 terrorism investigations against me. And yeah, last time I was talking with the police about all of these ideas, the guy was even saying to me, "Oh, I agree with all the things you're saying." So
it's hard to disagree with some core philosophies about self-sovereignty, isn't it?
Yeah. And also like the breakdown of Western civilization, like the moral decline, the lack of purpose and meaning.
Is it coincidence that you look a bit like Che Guevara?
I like Che Guevara, I think he's pretty cool, but I think Fidel Castro is even more awesome.
Are you worried about government's possible responses to this?
Yeah, well, that's a reality, but we have to try and find like a way to stay within legality and go forwards.
Yeah, sounds really exciting.
Yeah, because there's nothing else happening in technology world. It's like there's nothing happening. It's like, I mean, people working on things, but I'm not really seeing like any big transformation or change coming from any of these projects. There's no really like big vision. We're going to do this